Okay, boys and girls, we're going to talk a little bit about ratios. Just review what we did in class. So the first part of our classwork is to look at if each ratio can, or each of the following can be expressed as a ratio. So the first thing when we do this, we need to look at the units. So right here we have centimeters and grams, and they both need to measure the same thing, meaning either distance, length of something, weight, or liquid, how much liquid is contained. So centimeters and grams don't measure the same thing, so this would be a no. The second one, 12 kilograms and meters, 54 kilograms, so you have kilograms and meters. Kilograms is weight, meters is distance, so that's a no also. However, let's look at the 12 grams and 45 kilograms. So we have 12 grams to 45 kilograms, and they both measure weight, so these we can compare. And then if we make them into a ratio, we need to make it to the smaller unit, so the smaller unit is grams. So we're going to keep the 12, and 45 kilograms, because we have kilograms, we want to get to the smaller unit, we multiply and we move the decimal over 3 places, so it's 45,000. But with 45,000 and 12, we need to put in simplest form, and 12 goes into 45,000, and it goes in perfectly, and it's 3,750. Now, if you couldn't do it as quickly as I did to simplify it, you could keep breaking it down by twos. You could do a division ladder. You could look at that, and that would make it a little bit easier for you. Next thing is, let's look at number 8 here. And number 8 says there are 123 students in a drama club, 65 of them are girls. So if I look at 123 students, and what was it? 65 are girls. Let's figure out how many boys there are. So to figure that out, you subtract from the total students, 65, and we get 58. So 58 are boys and 65 are girls. So it says, what's the ratio of boys to girls? So boys is 58, girls is 65, so it'd be 58 to 65. Then it says, what is the ratio number of boys to the total number of students? So boys, again, are 58, so it'd be 58 to, 123. Remember the 2 dots you need, which looks like a colon. Okay, so let's move on to the next part. So here's one that we need to work on. It says Kelvin's monthly allowance is $42 and Mike's monthly allowance is $63. How many times Mike's monthly allowance is Kevin's monthly allowance? Okay, so when I do this, I look at it and I say, okay, Kelvin, I say Kevin, it's Kelvin. Kelvin's monthly allowance is $42. So Kelvin is 42 and Mike is going to be 63. And it says how many times Mike's allowance is Kelvin's allowance. So if Mike is 63 and Kelvin's going to be 42, we look at this and I say, okay, how many more times is Mike's? So how many more times is Mike's to get to Kelvin? So we want to get from 63 to 42. So when I look at this, first of all, I know I'm going down. So I'm going to be multiplying by something. So his ratio needs to be less than 1, because when you multiply any number by less than 1, it shrinks. So when I look at this, I'm going to write 42 over 63 then. That is going to be my ratio. And then I can simplify this because I know each one I could divide by 3. So it'd be 14 over, and I could divide 63 by 3, and that would be 21. And now I look at both of these and I can say, oh, I could divide each one by 7. So if I divide each one by 7, it's going to be 2 over 3. So it's 2 to 3. So how many more times is Mike's allowance? It's 2 to 3 of Kelvin's monthly allowance. Okay, boys and girls, the other way to do number 11 is to set up as an algebraic equation. So it says Kelvin's monthly allowance is 42 and Mike's is 63. It says how many times Mike is Kelvin. So we know that Mike is 63 times how many, we don't know how many, so we're going to use a variable and we'll put y, equals Kelvin, which is 42. So if you look at this problem, it's 63 times y now. So if I write that out, that's 63y equals 42. So what we need to do is solve for y. To solve for y, what we do is divide by 63 on each side. And when I do that, I have y equals 42 over 63. Well, 42 over 63, what we need to do is reduce that, and you can reduce it by 21. So if you reduce it by 21, you're going to get 2 over 3. So y is 2 over 3. And if you check the problem, you take 63 and multiply it by 2 and divide by 3, you're going to get 42. 13 says this: the ratio of the length of the width of a rectangle is 5 to 2. The length to the width, sorry. So if I draw this, the length is 5, the width is 2, and that's what it's going to look like. Express the difference between the length and the width of the rectangle as a fraction of the length of the rectangle. Okay, so the length of the rectangle is 5. The difference between the length and the width is 5 minus 2. So 5 minus 2 is going to be 3. And then the length is 5. So it's 3 to 5. Express the width of the rectangle now. Let me just erase this. So it says now, oops, let me get bigger. Okay, so now it says express the width of the rectangle as a fraction to the perimeter of the rectangle. Okay, so we need to work on the perimeter. Express the width. So the width is 2. And the perimeter of the rectangle. So the perimeter rectangle is 5 plus 5 is 10. Oops, I wrote it wrong. Let me erase that. It's 5 plus 5 is 10. 2 plus 2 is 4. So it's 14 is the perimeter. So it's 2 over 14, and if I reduce that, it's 1 over 7. So it's 1 to 7.